America, the land of the free, the home of the brave. We're taught these words from childhood. We pledge allegiance to a flag representing these ideals. But somewhere along the way, the dream started to fray at the edges. We've become a nation divided, red versus blue, rural versus urban, rich versus poor. The divides are deep, fueled by anger, mistrust, and misinformation. We have a long, complicated, often ugly history, but there used to be a sense, at least, that we were all in this together, that we were striving towards something better. Now, it feels like we're on the brink of something worse. The very foundations of our democracy feel shaky. We need to have some tough conversations about the direction of this country, about the role of government, and about the kind of future we want to build. Let's be honest, folks, trust in our government is about as low as a snake's belly in a wagon rut, and frankly, it's not hard to see why. Every day, we're bombarded with stories of corruption, incompetence, and outright lies from those in power. Politicians make promises they have no intention of keeping, lining their own pockets while the rest of us struggle to stay afloat. It's gotten to the point where it feels like the system is rigged against everyday Americans. And the worst part, they're not even trying to hide it anymore. They know we're onto them and they just don't seem to care. But here's the thing, apathy is not an option. This isn't some reality TV show we can just turn off when it gets too depressing. We need to hold our elected officials accountable, demand transparency, and refuse to accept anything less than a government that truly represents the will of the people. Every 4 years, we engage in this grand spectacle we call a presidential election. The airwaves are saturated with campaign ads, candidates crisscross the country shaking hands and kissing babies, and we're told that our vote is our voice, that we have the power to choose our future. But do we, really? Let's be honest, the two-party system has become a bit of a joke. Democrats, Republicans, they're two sides of the same coin, really. They're more interested in maintaining the status quo, in protecting the wealthy and powerful, than they are in actually representing the needs of ordinary Americans. So what's the solution? We need to break free from the stranglehold of the two-party system. We need to support third-party candidates, independent voices who are willing to challenge the status quo and offer real alternatives. And we need to demand campaign finance reform so that our elections are no longer bought and sold to the highest bidder, because until we have a system that truly represents the will of the people, this whole democracy thing is just a big fat charade. All right, folks, let's talk about the elephant, or perhaps more accurately, the donkey in the room, the Electoral College. This antiquated system, designed by a bunch of powdered wig-wearing dudes centuries ago, is about as relevant to modern America as a rotary phone or a cassette tape. The Electoral College, for those unfamiliar with its arcane workings, essentially means that the president isn't actually chosen by the popular vote. This means that a candidate can win millions more votes nationwide and still lose the presidency, as we saw in 2016. How is that even remotely fair or democratic? It's like ordering a large pizza, and then having someone tell you that you can only have 2 slices because you live in a state with fewer pizza enthusiasts. The solution is simple: abolish the Electoral College and elect the president by a national popular vote. One person, one vote. Let's bring our democracy into the 21st century, shall we? Section 5. The Specter of Big Brother. Remember that warm, fuzzy feeling you get when you realize the government is watching your every move, listening to your phone calls and tracking your internet history? No? Me neither. And yet, that's the reality we live in today, folks. In the name of security, our government has been granted sweeping powers to spy on its own citizens, often in secret and with little to no accountability. They tell us it's to keep us safe, to prevent terrorism, but at what cost? Are we really willing to sacrifice our freedom and privacy on the altar of security? This is about the fundamental principles upon which this country was founded. We need to demand transparency from our government, hold them accountable for their actions, and remind them that they work for us, not the other way around. Because a government that fears its citizens is a democracy, but a government that spies on its citizens is something else entirely. Section 6, the price of freedom. We're constantly told that freedom isn't free, that we must be willing to make sacrifices to protect it. And to some extent that's true. But somewhere along the way, the definition of sacrifice seems to have gotten a little skewed. For many Americans, sacrifice now means accepting stagnant wages, skyrocketing healthcare costs, and crippling student loan debt. It means watching as our manufacturing jobs are shipped overseas, our environment is polluted by corporate greed, and our social safety net is shredded to pieces. Look, I'm not saying we should all become a nation of moochers expecting handouts and free rides, but there's a difference between personal responsibility and being crushed under the weight of a system that's rigged against you. Because true freedom isn't just about being free from government interference, it's about being free to pursue your dreams, to provide for your family, and to live a life of dignity and respect. Section 7. The media's role in the divide. Now let's talk about the folks who are supposed to be keeping us informed, the brave souls of journalism. Just kidding, folks, we all know the media landscape is a bit of a dumpster fire these days. Instead of providing us with objective facts and in-depth analysis, we're bombarded with 24/7 cable news shouting matches, clickbait headlines designed to outrage, and a social media ecosystem that seems specifically engineered to amplify the worst instincts of humanity. But here's the thing, we need a free and independent press, now more than ever. We need journalists who are willing to hold the powerful accountable, to speak truth to power, and to cut through the noise and misinformation that's poisoning our public discourse. We need to be critical thinkers, to question everything, and to be wary of any source that claims to have all the answers, or that seeks to divide us along partisan lines, because a misinformed public is easy to manipulate, easy to control. Section 8. Divided we fall. We've all heard the saying, united we stand, divided we fall. It's a cliche, sure, but that doesn't make it any less true. And right now, it feels like we're teetering dangerously close to the edge of that precipice. The forces of division, political, social, economic, are pulling us apart, threatening to tear at the very fabric of our society. We're constantly being bombarded with messages of fear, anger, and resentment. We're told to be afraid of our neighbors, of those who are different from us, of anyone who doesn't share our exact worldview. This isn't about ignoring our differences or pretending that everyone has to agree on everything. But when disagreement devolves into demonization, when we stop seeing each other as fellow citizens with shared values and aspirations, that's when we're in real trouble. Section 9. Reclaiming our democracy. So how do we fix this hot mess we call American democracy? Well, folks, it's not going to be easy, and it's definitely not going to be quick. It's going to require a sustained effort from all of us, regardless of our political leanings, to reclaim the promise of this country and build a better future for ourselves and for generations to come. First and foremost, we need to start talking to each other again. And I don't mean just shouting our opinions at each other on social media or cable news. I mean really listening to each other, trying to understand where the other side is coming from, and finding common ground wherever we can. It's going to be uncomfortable at times, sure, but that's okay. Because the only way we're going to bridge the divides in this country is by starting with ourselves. Section 10. A vision for a freer America. Imagine, if you will, a country where healthcare is a right, not a privilege. Where every child, regardless of their zip code, has access to a quality education. Where our environment is protected, not plundered for profit. Where workers are treated with dignity and respect, and where everyone has a fair shot at achieving the American dream. Now I know what you're thinking, John, you've gone off the deep end this time. But here's the thing, it doesn't have to be this way. We can choose to create a different kind of future, one where we prioritize the well-being of all Americans, not just the wealthy and powerful. It's going to take hard work, dedication, and a willingness to fight for what we believe in. Section 11. A call to action. Look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, folks. We're facing some serious challenges as a nation. But I'm also an optimist. I believe in the promise of America, in the idea that we can come together and create a more perfect union. But it's not going to happen on its own. It's going to take all of us working together to make it a reality. So get involved. Vote in every election, local, state, and national. Contact your elected officials and let them know what issues you care about. Support organizations that are fighting for social justice, economic equality, and environmental protection. Because the future of this country is not a spectator sport. Let's get to work.